3. Endurance over comfort. Modern culture teaches escape. Numb it. Scroll it away. Drink it away. Distract yourself. Stoicism teaches endurance, not dramatic suffering, steady presence. When pain arrives, instead of immediately reaching for comfort, you sit with it. You breathe through it. You observe it. Endurance builds capacity. Every time you stay instead of fleeing, you increase tolerance, and tolerance becomes strength. 4. Emotional mastery is not emotional suppression. Pain brings emotion, anger, sadness, fear. Stoicism does not tell you to eliminate these. It teaches you to examine them. When anger rises, you ask, what belief is behind this? When sadness lingers, you ask, what expectation was broken? This transforms emotion from tyrant into teacher. Instead of drowning in feeling, you study it. And what you study, you can manage. 5. Amor fati. Love your fate. This is one of the most radical ideas in Stoicism. Not just accepting what happens, loving it. Amor fati means whatever happens, I will use it. Pain becomes material. Rejection becomes redirection. Failure becomes refinement. This doesn't mean you enjoy suffering. It means you refuse to let it be meaningless. If this happened, it belongs in your path. And if it belongs, it can strengthen you. 6. Self-command under pressure. Pain often triggers impulsive decisions. You text something you regret. You quit something prematurely. You lash out. The Stoic trains self-command. Pause. Before you react, ask, will this action reduce my pain or multiply it? Most regret is born from unexamined reaction. Composure under pressure is power, not power over others. Power over yourself. 7. Negative visualization reduces fear. One reason pain devastates you is surprise. You expected permanence, but everything is temporary. Relationships, health, success, status. Stoicism encourages reflection on impermanence, not to become pessimistic, but to become prepared. When you accept that loss is part of life, you appreciate more deeply and panic less intensely. Prepared minds break less violently. Your character is untouchable unless you surrender it. Pain can take many things, but it cannot take your character unless you let it. You may lose status. You may lose money. You may lose approval, but you still control whether you act with integrity, whether you remain honest, whether you endure with dignity. This realization creates inner sovereignty. The world may wound you, but it cannot corrupt you without your consent. Dasein, perspective shrinks pain. Pain feels infinite in the moment. But zoom out. In 5 years, will this define your life? In 10 years, will this still carry the same weight? Stoicism encourages temporal perspective, not to minimize your feelings, but to contextualize them. Everything passes, including this. And remembering that weakens despair. You don't just feel pain. You negotiate with it. You replay what happened. You imagine what could have been different. You ask yourself why it had to unfold that way. You try to distract yourself. You try to numb it. You try to outrun it. But when the noise fades, it's still there. Maybe it's rejection. Maybe it's betrayal. Maybe it's failure. Maybe it's loss. Maybe it's regret. And beneath all of it is a quieter fear. What if I'm not strong enough to handle this? Stoicism begins exactly there. Not by eliminating pain, but by transforming how you meet it. Today we're going to explore 10 Stoic lessons that will change how you handle pain. Not in theory, but in the raw human moments when it actually arrives. This is not about becoming cold, it's about becoming sovereign. The foundation, what Stoicism really is. Stoicism is often misunderstood. It is not emotional suppression. It is not indifference. It is not pretending things don't hurt. It is a philosophy of emotional control, resilience, discipline, acceptance of reality, and inner sovereignty. It teaches one fundamental distinction. Control what you can, accept what you cannot. Everything in your life falls into one of those two categories. Pain becomes destructive when you confuse them. When you try to control what is outside you, the past, other people, outcomes, you suffer twice. But when you return responsibility to what is yours, your perception, your response, your character, something stabilizes. Let's go deeper. Whilst pain is inevitable, suffering is interpretation. The first Stoic lesson is brutal but freeing. Pain is part of being alive. Loss, criticism, illness, disappointment. These are woven into existence. But suffering is amplified by the story you attach to pain. This shouldn't have happened. This ruins everything. I can't handle this. This defines me. The event hurts. The narrative deepens the wound. Stoicism teaches you to pause and ask, what am I adding to this pain? Modern example, you lose a job. Pain, financial uncertainty, ego bruised. Narrative, I'm worthless. I'll never recover. The Stoic separates fact from story. Fact, I lost a job. Story, I'm a failure. That separation reduces suffering dramatically. Turn to control what you can, release the rest. Pain often comes from trying to control what is gone. You want closure from someone who won't give it. You want the past to reverse. You want fairness from unfair people. But the Stoic asks, what is in my control right now? Your effort, your next action, your integrity, your attitude, not their apology, not yesterday's outcome, not the world's fairness. When you return to what is yours, anxiety drops. You stop scattering energy outward, and you begin rebuilding inward. 10. You are stronger than you think, but only if you train. The final lesson is simple. Strength is built before crisis. Daily discipline, voluntary discomfort, rational reflection, controlled reactions. These habits compound. When pain arrives, you don't improvise strength. You rely on training, and training creates confidence, not loud confidence, quiet certainty. The internal shift. Imagine two versions of yourself facing the same pain. One resists reality, blames, panics, escapes. The other accepts, assesses, endures, acts deliberately. Same event, different posture. The event doesn't determine your experience. Your philosophy does. Stoicism does not promise a painless life. It promises a stable mind, and a stable mind can endure almost anything. Closing reflection. Right now there is likely a pain you're carrying. Maybe fresh, maybe old. Ask yourself, am I fighting what has already happened? Or am I focusing on what I can control now? Am I escaping discomfort or building endurance? Am I resisting fate or using it? And the most important question, if pain is inevitable, will you let it weaken you or will you let it train you? Tell me honestly, what pain in your life could become strength if you chose to meet it differently? Stay with that last question. Don't rush to answer it, because how you answer determines whether pain becomes your prison or your training ground. Let's go deeper. There is a hidden layer of pain most people never confront, not the event itself, but the identity shift that follows it. You don't just feel heartbreak. You begin to question your worth. You don't just experience failure. You begin to doubt your capability. You don't just face rejection. You begin to rewrite your self-image. This is where pain becomes dangerous, not when it hurts, but when it alters who you believe you are. Stoicism interrupts that shift. It teaches you that events are external. Your character is internal. External events may bruise your ego, but they do not define your identity unless you surrender authorship of your mind. You are not what happened to you. You are how you respond to what happened, and that distinction restores sovereignty. Let's talk about resentment. Resentment is pain prolonged by resistance. You replay the moment. You rehearse better responses. You imagine what you should have said, but the past is no longer available for negotiation. Stoicism forces a confrontation with reality. It asks, is this within your control now? If not, why are you still giving it your energy? This doesn't mean you pretend it didn't hurt. It means you stop feeding what cannot be changed. Acceptance is not weakness. It is strategic conservation of emotional energy. And energy, when redirected inward, becomes strength. There is also the temptation to dramatize pain, to amplify it in your own narrative. This ruined everything. I'll never recover. Nothing will be the same. But step back. How many times have you survived something you once believed would destroy you? The mind exaggerates in the moment. Stoicism corrects exaggeration with perspective. Pain is intense, but it is rarely infinite. You have endured before. That fact alone is evidence of resilience already inside you. Now consider the discipline of voluntary discomfort. This is one of the most misunderstood Stoic practices. Why would anyone willingly expose themselves to discomfort? Because pain feels overwhelming when it's unfamiliar. But when you deliberately train in discomfort, cold showers, difficult conversations, disciplined routines, you reduce your fear of it. The unknown becomes known, the feared becomes manageable. And when unexpected pain arrives, your nervous system does not collapse. It recognizes the sensation. I felt this before. I can endure this. Endurance over comfort builds capacity. Capacity builds confidence. Confidence stabilizes pain. Let's explore amor fati again, but deeper. Loving your fate is not passive. It is active alignment. If this challenge is here, it has something to teach. If this loss occurred, it reshapes you in some way. If this pain exists, it can refine you. You may not understand how immediately, but refusing to hate your reality reduces internal conflict. Imagine facing hardship and saying, "This too is part of my path." Notice how different that feels from, "This shouldn't be happening." One posture resists, the other adapts, and adaptation is strength. Pain also tests your self-command. When you are hurt, your impulse is reaction, to lash out, to withdraw, to abandon discipline, to seek immediate relief. But Stoicism reminds you, short-term relief often creates long-term damage. Self-command under pressure means asking, what action will I respect tomorrow? Not what feels good now. What will I respect later? That question alone filters impulsive decisions born from pain. There is something powerful about suffering with dignity. Not performative stoicism, not forced silence, but composed endurance. When you face hardship without collapsing into bitterness, something shifts inside you. You realize you are not as fragile as you feared, and that realization changes your self-concept. Pain becomes evidence of strength, not weakness. And emotional escalation is what turns pain into chaos. There is also something else pain exposes: attachment. Attachment to outcomes. Attachment to identity. Attachment to how life should look. When reality deviates from your expectation, pain intensifies. But ask yourself, was the pain caused by the event or by the expectation? If you expect permanence in a temporary world, you suffer. If you expect certainty in an unpredictable world, you suffer. Stoicism teaches realistic expectations. Everything changes. Nothing is guaranteed. No one belongs to you permanently. No outcome is promised. This isn't pessimism, it's clarity. And clarity stabilizes the mind. Now let's talk about self-respect in the midst of pain. Pain tempts you to compromise, to abandon routines, to speak harshly, to give up discipline, to justify destructive behavior. But the Stoic asks, will this action make my pain lighter or make my character weaker? That question changes behavior. Because even in pain, you still control your conduct. You still control your words. You still control your standards. And when everything feels unstable, standards become anchors. Even small acts of discipline, waking up on time, completing a task, exercising restraint, rebuild internal order, and internal order reduces emotional chaos. Consider how many people allow pain to become personality. They introduce themselves through their wounds. They rehearse their suffering. They relive their hurt. And slowly, pain becomes identity. Stoicism resists this. Pain is an experience, not a definition. You may have been betrayed, but you are not betrayal. You may have failed, but you are not failure. You may have been rejected, but you are not rejection. Identity belongs to character, not circumstance. And that distinction protects your dignity. There's another lesson few discuss. Pain sharpens focus, and if you let it, when something breaks, it reveals what truly matters. It strips away illusions. It clarifies priorities. Stoicism invites you to ask, what is this pain revealing? Is it showing misplaced dependence? Is it revealing weak boundaries? Is it exposing fear of uncertainty? Pain often illuminates hidden weaknesses, and illumination allows correction. Without discomfort, growth remains theoretical. With discomfort, growth becomes necessary. Now imagine you fully embody Stoic endurance. Pain arrives. You breathe. You assess. You separate control from chaos. You refuse exaggeration. You maintain discipline. You use the experience. What happens internally? Confidence grows. Not loud confidence, quiet certainty. The certainty that says, I can face difficulty without collapsing. And that certainty becomes a foundation. The next challenge feels smaller, not because it is smaller, but because you are stronger. let's revisit self-command under pressure. When you are hurt, there is often a desire for immediate emotional discharge, to send the message, to make the comment, to prove your point. But the Stoic knows the most powerful response is often the most restrained. Silence can be strength. Patience can be dominance. Deliberate calm can be leadership. Self-command under pressure is the mark of maturity. And maturity makes pain less destabilizing. There's also a deeper spiritual dimension to this philosophy. Not religious, but existential. You are here for a limited time. Pain reminds you of that. Loss reminds you of that. Impermanence reminds you of that. So instead of resisting life's volatility, Stoicism asks you to cooperate with it. If everything is temporary, then suffering over permanence is irrational. If everything changes, then clinging increases fear. When you align with impermanence, fear softens, and pain loses some of its terror. Now let's speak directly to your current situation. Whatever pain you are carrying, it feels heavy, it feels immediate, it feels personal. But ask yourself, is it truly the pain that is overwhelming you, or the belief that you cannot endure it? Because history sums your own history and proves otherwise. You have endured before. You have survived things you once thought would break you. You adapted, you adjusted, you moved forward. That evidence matters. It is proof of resilience already present within you. Stoicism simply strengthens what is already there. And finally, consider this. Pain is temporary. Character is lasting. If you use pain to refine patience, strengthen discipline, deepen perspective, and cultivate acceptance, then pain becomes investment. An investment in resilience, an investment in emotional mastery, an investment in sovereignty. And sovereignty is unbreakable. So I leave you with this final reflection. The next time pain visits you, and it will, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what part of this is within my control? What part must I accept? How can I endure this with dignity? How can I use this to grow stronger? And most importantly, if pain is shaping you right now, what kind of person is it shaping you into? Are you becoming more bitter or more resilient? Tell me honestly. When the next wave hits, will you fight reality, or will you stand steady within it? Let's not rush past that last question, because this is where Stoicism stops being philosophy and starts becoming identity. Pain is a teacher, but it is a strict one. It will show you exactly where you are still attached, where you are still reactive, where you are still trying to control what was never yours. And most people respond to that exposure with resistance. They harden, they blame, they distract themselves. They search for someone to hold responsible. But the Stoic does something quieter. They turn inward, not to self-blame, but to self-examine. What belief inside me is being challenged? Sometimes pain reveals pride. Sometimes it reveals dependence. Sometimes it reveals fear of uncertainty. And awareness of those weaknesses is not humiliation. It is opportunity. Because what you see clearly, you can refine. There is a subtle transformation that happens when you practice this consistently. Pain stops feeling like an interruption. It starts feeling like refinement. You begin to recognize patterns. You notice how your mind tries to dramatize. You catch yourself wanting immediate relief. And instead of judging yourself, you correct gently. That correction is discipline. And discipline stabilizes emotion. Let's talk about dignity. Dignity in pain is powerful. Not because you pretend you're unaffected, but because you refuse to abandon your standards. You still show up. You still act with integrity. You still speak thoughtfully. You still control your impulses. That steadiness builds self-trust, and self-trust reduces fear. Because when you trust your ability to respond well, future pain becomes less terrifying. You stop fearing the event. You start trusting your capacity. There's another shift that occurs when you internalize Stoicism. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, why not me? Why should you be exempt from difficulty? Why should life spare you from the human condition? Loss is universal. Failure is universal. Disappointment is universal. When you stop expecting exemption, you stop feeling singled out. Pain becomes less personal. And when it becomes less personal, it becomes more manageable. Now imagine this. You experience a setback. Instead of spiraling, you sit quietly. You breathe. You write down what happened, just the facts. Then you write what is in your control. Then you write what is not. And you commit to action only in the first column. That exercise alone can change the trajectory of your emotional state, because clarity removes helplessness. And helplessness is often what makes pain unbearable. There is something else Stoicism fixes that we rarely name. Catastrophizing. Your mind leaps to extremes. This will ruin my life. I'll never recover. This changes everything forever. But how often have those predictions been wrong? Pain narrows perspective. Stoicism widens it. This moment feels overwhelming, but it is one chapter, not the entire story. And chapters do not define books. Let's speak about strength honestly. Strength is not loud. It does not announce itself. It is built in quiet moments when no one is watching. When you choose restraint instead of retaliation. When you choose discipline instead of indulgence. When you choose acceptance instead of resentment. Those choices accumulate, and accumulation creates identity. Eventually, you no longer try to be strong. You simply are, because strength has become habitual. And here's something deeply important. Stoicism does not make you less human. It makes you more grounded. You will still grieve. You will still feel hurt. You will still experience disappointment. But those emotions will not dictate your behavior. They will inform you, not control you. That is emotional mastery, not the absence of feeling, but the presence of control. So let's bring this back to you one final time. There is pain in your life right now, whether visible or subtle. Maybe it's unresolved. Maybe it's fresh. Maybe it's something you rarely talk about. What if you stopped viewing it as damage and started viewing it as training? What if, instead of asking when it will end, you asked what it is teaching? What if this moment, uncomfortable, heavy, challenging, is preparing you for something greater? Because often, the strongest versions of ourselves are forged in moments we never would have chosen. And now I leave you with this. When the next wave of pain hits, will you react instinctively or respond deliberately? Will you resist what already is or align with it? Will you allow pain to define your identity or use it to refine your character? Take a moment, be honest. Is your current pain something you are trying to escape or something you are ready to master? Mastery begins the moment you stop running, not when the pain disappears, not when circumstances improve, not when someone apologizes, but when you decide, I will not abandon myself in this. That is the turning point, because the deepest wound pain creates is not external. It is the temptation to lose self-command, to act beneath your standards, to speak from impulse, to give up discipline, to collapse into bitterness. Stoicism protects you from that collapse, not by making you immune, but by reminding you that even in pain, you still have agency, and agency is power. Let's examine something uncomfortable. Sometimes pain feels unbearable not because of its intensity, but because of its uncertainty. You don't know how long it will last. You don't know what comes next. You don't know how things will resolve. The mind hates uncertainty. It would rather have bad certainty than unclear possibility. But Stoicism teaches tolerance for uncertainty. You do not need to know the entire path. You only need to master the next step, the next conversation, the next decision, the next disciplined action. When you narrow focus, anxiety reduces, pain becomes segmented, and segmented pain feels survivable. There is also a powerful Stoic truth that most people resist. Pain is often proportional to attachment. The tighter you cling, the more it hurts when reality shifts. Attachment to being admired, attachment to a specific outcome, attachment to how someone should behave. When those attachments are disrupted, pain intensifies. Stoicism doesn't tell you not to care. It teaches you to care without clinging, to invest effort without demanding results, to love without demanding permanence, to work without demanding guarantees. This reduces fragility, because fragility grows where dependency is strongest. Let's talk about inner dialogue. When pain hits, what does your inner voice sound like? Is it hostile? Why are you like this? You should have known better. You always mess things up. Or is it disciplined? This hurts, and I will endure. This is difficult, but I am capable. The Stoic cultivates a rational inner voice, not overly optimistic, not harsh, clear, measured, grounded. The way you speak to yourself during pain determines how deeply it roots. If your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your critic, resilience strengthens. There is also the concept of voluntary hardship, not to glorify suffering, but to remove fear of it, when you intentionally practice discipline, waking early, training your body, choosing restraint, you are rehearsing resilience. You are teaching your nervous system. Discomfort is not danger, and when real pain arrives, your system recognizes the sensation. It doesn't panic as quickly. It doesn't collapse as easily. It has experience, and experience builds steadiness. Now imagine a version of you who has practiced this philosophy for years. Pain still comes, but it does not shock. Loss still occurs, but it does not shatter identity. Failure still happens, but it does not destroy self-respect. This version of you is not numb. They are composed. They feel fully, but they act deliberately. They experience grief, but they maintain integrity. They endure pressure, but they retain self-command. That is the Stoic ideal, not emotional absence, emotional authority. There is something profoundly powerful about knowing, no matter what happens, I can trust my response. That trust removes fear, because fear is often fear of yourself. Fear that you will collapse, fear that you will overreact, fear that you will make it worse. But when you cultivate discipline, perspective, and acceptance, you begin to trust your stability. And trusted stability is unbreakable. Let's return to amor fati one last time. Loving your fate does not mean enjoying pain. It means refusing to label it as an enemy. If this hardship is here, it has a role. It is shaping patience. It is strengthening boundaries. It is exposing weakness. It is refining character. You may not see the purpose immediately, but resisting it multiplies suffering. Using it transforms it, and transformation is power. So now we arrive at the deepest layer. Pain reveals what you truly value. It reveals where you are still attached. It reveals where your ego is fragile. It reveals where you need discipline. In that way, pain is diagnostic. It shows you what to train. And once you begin training in those areas, future pain loses its leverage because you have already strengthened the weakness. So pause here. Think about the most recent pain you've experienced. Not the abstract idea, the real one. What did it reveal about you? Did it reveal attachment? Did it reveal fear? Did it reveal pride? Did it reveal insecurity? Now ask, if I trained in that specific weakness, how would I handle the same situation differently next time? That is growth, not avoidance, not suppression. Training, and now the final reflection. Pain is part of your path. It always has been. It always will be. The only variable is your posture. Will you let pain dictate your behavior, or will you dictate your behavior despite pain? Will you collapse into resentment, or rise into refinement? Because in the end, pain is not the true test. Your response is. So I ask you honestly, the next time life hurts, will you ask, why is this happening to me? Or will you ask, who is this shaping me into? Tell me, which version of yourself are you choosing to build?